You know, people wonder if Tupac was targeted because of his bloodline.
No, hold on 1 second. Like you pulling on the cord.
Am I pulling on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cord?
yeah.
Sorry about
All right.
that.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the question comes up of, why Tupac was targeted. And was it because he was famous and, because he was swagger and arrogant? Was it because of his bloodline? My answer to that question is something that Tupac said to me. And I am witness to this, and people can do with this what they will. I visited Tupac when he was, among our many visits, I had gone to see him in Bellevue Hospital when he was in the prison ward. And this is after he had been convicted, but before he went upstate. And he came out, and I was a paralegal working with brother Talif Warren. I was working as his paralegal. So I was able to meet him one-on-one in the attorney visiting room. And he limped a little bit, but he looked good, and he embraced me. And he said, Uncle Jamal, before you start, because sometimes I would just kind of go in, right? He says, man, I have to tell you a story. He said, there's a guy in the back in the prison ward, a young brother. They brought him from upstate. He had to get a back operation. And he sees me, and he goes crazy. He goes, oh, man, I can't believe it, dog. Tupac, you here, man. I love you, dog. You my hero. And Tupac said, time out, bro. Why am I your hero? And the young brother was like, oh, man, come on, Pac, don't be playing, man. You be getting paid. You got all the women. You be shooting at the police. And Pac said, time out. If that's why I'm your hero, then I don't need to be your hero. And he said, Uncle Jamal, I realized something. He said, they're going to kill me. He said, they have to kill me because I'm a Shakur. My choice is, do I go out like Tony Montana for Scarface, or do I go out like Malcolm X? And I want to go out like Malcolm X. Now, of course, my response is what a Godfather's response would be. Pac, you're not going to die. Let's not think about that. Let's claim life. Let's do whatever. And Pac would listen politely. He says, I hear you, but nevertheless, here's what I want to do. And this is when he began to lay out his vision, of these community centers, of doing more film, because music is, they're just going to rob you. Film, you get to make a statement and keep the money. He also talked about the fact that he was going to stop getting high. He said, because I smoked a lot. When I wasn't smoking, I was drinking. When I wasn't drinking, I was going to smoke. And I said, Pac, how are you going to do what we're going to do with that? He says, one day at a time, sobriety, you know. And so, and I remember coming home being so elated. And I remember sharing this with Joyce about the space that Tupac was in. And then I know from my own experiences that prison can be a transformative space. I've served close to 9.5 years in prison. And in prison, I earned a GED, 2 college degrees, and graduated from KU, University of Kansas, with top honors, summa cum laude. That's where I became a poet. That's where I became a writer. I formed a theater company, and I knew I wanted to use arts and activism, and I was so elated about that. And then people may say, well, if that's the case, then what happened? Well, I wasn't the only person that Tupac shared this vision with. And there were other people that he went and shared this vision with and went, oh, okay, so getting high is a problem, right? And so I believe that, and I know that, when he got out, that when he got into the car on the way to the airport, Suge Knight was like, man, here, have a drink. Here's a blunt. Now, if someone is telling you that here's the track that I want to be on, and then I realize that for me, part of the problem is that I shouldn't be getting high, I shouldn't be smoking weed. And then you go like, yeah, bro, come on, just take this hit to celebrate. Right away, it's manipulation and a different agenda. And so I think that there are people, Suge Knight and other people, that took those things and just go like, okay, we don't want him thinking clearly. We do want him to be moving. But I do want to say that even as things progress, Tupac was able to take a step back in his own life. And toward the end of his life, and that's when he did the One Nation Project. Mm-hmm. That's when he recorded a lot of songs. Now, did he record so many songs because he believed he was going to die? I actually believe he recorded those many songs because he believed he was going to live, because of the bond with his mother, because of his relationship with Kidada. I think he wanted to satisfy his contract and just go, I promise you this many albums, here you go. I'm going to build this company, I'm going to do that. So I do believe that that moment changed. But yes, I think he was targeted because he was a Shakur, and because they know connected with that name was not just the legacy, but the activism and the ability to organize millions. That he had millions of ears that was listening to him around the world. Whenever you do that, and then he began to go, see, the other thing too, for just a moment, the Code of Thug Life is a revolutionary document. And if you don't know about the code, please, have our, the people that are watching this or listening to this, go online and look at Tupac's Code of Thug Life. He began to broker the peace between these gangs and just begin to return to some values. It wasn't exactly the 10-point program of the Black Panther Party, but it was rooted in the same thing that I've been talking about in the Black Panther Party, that love for the community. Let's stop shooting at each other. Let's not snitch on each other. Let's not deal drugs in the hood. This is revolutionary if gangs are allowed to flourish because they're doing the job of the oppressor and in terms of eliminating young black men. That's what neocolonialism is. I don't have to come in as the oppressor in my uniform, with my army, with my people who look different, and kill you and lock you up. What I can do is create a psychological climate of self-hatred. I can pour in the guns and pour in the drugs and step back and let you do it to yourselves. And nobody's seeing where it's really coming from. So when you introduce something like the Code of Thug Life into that, that's revolutionary. And so Fred Hampton got killed in Chicago for the same thing. He had taken the Young Lords, the toughest, best organized, largest street gang, Puerto Rican street gang in Chicago, and helped them become a revolutionary organization called the Young Lords Party. And then he's talking to the Egyptian lords, he's talking to the Peastone Rangers, and Chicago cops are going like, wait a minute, there's 30 or 40,000 of us and 200,000 of them? This organizer has got to go. Can I say one more to that point?
Sure, please.
And when you look at the FBI's counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, and I don't think you can talk even in celebratory moments, when we talk about the Black Panther Party, and when we talk about the Shakur family, who were targets of COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program. And it was organized by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. And it went beyond just gathering intelligence. It was counterintelligence where you're going in, infiltrating organizations, creating false evidence, framing people up, getting people arrested, killed, creating a situation where you don't have to get your hands dirty. What the FBI would do in those cases is start wars that led to, for example, the Chicago police murdering Fred Hampton. They gave them the intelligence, they gave them the will, they said you better do a preemptive strike, and he's your target. All that intelligence came from the FBI. But there was also intelligence that came from the FBI that caused a terrible split within the Black Panther Party. And it led to a war within the Black Panther Party. These brave women and men who are on the front lines against the cops in the middle of the night and on street corners and going without sleep so they could get up early to feed other people's kids, now are going at each other. And it was called East Coast, West Coast. Does that sound familiar?
Too familiar.
Too familiar. And so we talked about that even when Tupac was alive, what COINTELPRO was. And now more and more, as we reveal police documents, we see that some of these things were orchestrated and organized by the police. And if you keep tracing that DNA and those fingerprints, it will lead to the FBI and to other places. And so that underscores of, yes, I think he was targeted. And not only was he targeted because he was a Shakur, he was targeted by that same counterintelligence COINTELPRO kind of program.